For this thought bubble video, I wanted to talk about an old topic with more thoughts. You know what I hate? People saying this to justify calling a non-K-pop group K-pop. I've talked about this many times, but I've seen people call non-K-pop groups K-pop simply because they promote in Korea. I looked at the KT's post of them saying former Island contestant LingLing is set to become the first K-pop idol from Malaysia with her debut, but just below that it says the entertainment agency is set to launch a global girl group next month with LingLing being its first member. I was sitting here like, how can she be the first Malaysian to debut in K-pop if the group itself is a global group? I commented about that, and one person commented back, and then I replied back, and then they commented back with the infamous, "The group promotes in Korea," comment, and then I commented back too, and they replied back by saying, "She is under Korean label." I've seen people say this with XG2 about calling them K-pop because they promote in Korea, but promoting alone doesn't make you K-pop, and neither does being under a K-pop label make you K-pop if the music you release is in a language other than Korean. LingLing is not the first Malaysian K-pop idol because unless her group debuts into K-pop releasing Korean music, she cannot be K-pop if her group is set to be a global girl group. When I replied to this person's comment about them replying back saying the group promotes in Korea, I replied back talking about how promoting in Korea doesn't make you K-pop, how if a Western artist did tours in Korea and promotes, would they be K-pop or not because they're also promoting in Korea, and asking if Coldplay is K-pop because they did their tour in Korea too, and talking about having to sing in the language and release music in it to be considered K-pop, and it's true. I will never consider anyone K-pop if the group isn't K-pop itself or sings in the language. Just because you promote in Korea as a non-Korean will never make you K-pop, and if that were the case then any non-Korean artist can be K-pop, even Western ones. Some of these Western artists promote in Korea, and if you refer to them as Western artists, then why do you do so? They're no different than XG being called K-pop for promoting in Korea. If that's all it takes for you to call someone K-pop simply because they promote in Korea, then every artist promoting in different countries of the world are that country's music. You're an Australian artist but you promoted in Indonesia. You've become Indo-pop, which makes no sense whatsoever. I've never understood this, because to me releasing music in the language despite not being Korean, is something logical to call the group K-pop, but if you're solely promoting in Korea as a non-K-pop artist in languages not K-pop, then how would they be K-pop, if neither their music is Korean or they're a K-pop group prior? In conclusion, Lean Branding's group is global, and for people who are, and will be excited for LingLing being the first Malaysian in K-pop, I'm sorry to burst your bubble again because it all comes down to the language and not because you're in that country where the music is from, being under a label that is that country's music, which in that case, if Nicki Minaj debuted under YG but still made the same music that she makes, would that be considered K-pop to you or not? And also, being under a K-pop label doesn't automatically make you a K-pop artist, because you being a Korean artist and releasing an English song, how is that K-pop? Because what if you're a non-Korean Asian, a Thai person per se, making music under a K-pop label, but the music you make is in English or Thai, would that still be K-pop? You're neither Korean nor do you sing in Korean, and the only thing Korean about you is your K-pop label because the music you release could be just non-choreographed music. Please make it make sense to me how being under a K-pop label and or promoting in Korea makes you K-pop as a non-K-pop artist, because I'm seeing a flaw in these two things said no matter how I look at it. What would be the point of the K in K-pop, if the artist isn't singing in Korean and they're a non-Korean Asian but they solely promote in Korea, so you call them K-pop? Where is the Korean pop in that? If they're from a completely different country's music, trained in that different country's music and debuted under that different country's music under a company from that different country's music, sing in a different language but are promoting in Korea, then how can that be K-pop? Because there is nothing Korean about them at all. And also, for example, you being a Westerner and you debut as a K-pop artist but sing in English, how can you be K-pop when you're no different from Western artists who also sing in English? What would be the thing that makes you different from any other Western artist despite you debuting as a K-pop artist? This is why for me the main deciding factor of someone being K-pop regardless of ethnicity is language and singing in Korean. Also, I completely forgot to mention in more detail about LingLing not being the first female K-pop idol from Malaysia because of the group being global, which I don't understand why people are making news articles calling her the first female Malaysian K-pop idol, when her group is said to be global, which means a group focusing on the world, and not really K-pop. So how would that make her the first exactly if the company stated that the group is global? Where's the K-pop in that? Because I fail to see it. Again, for the millionth time, a K-pop company debuting a group doesn't automatically make the group K-pop, because the company could be debuting a Japanese group or a Chinese group or an English language group. Unless they were to sing in Korean, them being under a K-pop company alone doesn't make them K-pop. We should keep the first Malaysian female in K-pop title for when someone actually debuts into K-pop as a female Malaysian, because at the moment LingLing is not K-pop, so she's not the first female Malaysian in K-pop, and that's just a fact.
Shining through the night, baby, I